Okay, so I was able to watch the film yesterday and I enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to chatting about it. And I wanted to get started asking you, Josh, about writing the script for the film. What was
Yep.
that inspiration like in creating the story and writing the script?
Sure. So it was twofold. There's on the story level, which was I wanted to write something initially about the Christmas truce, right? Because I thought we lived in a polarized time, and so I wanted to write something about people coming together. But that journey, reading about that and engaging with that material, brought me to learning about the deserters, and I found that I connected very deeply with that with with that aspect of World War One. And I also felt that through some of the research that I did, it was something that would be doable, where we could prioritize great actors over big. Sometimes with World War One films, you got to go out and you got to do some pretty wild stuff. And with this, I'm very proud of the fact that the acting is front and center in the picture. And so it felt like it was a great opportunity to write something that would attract really good actors like Bradley. And so that also was something that I found very attractive. And but the main part was that I really connected with the deserters, and there was there was a lot there that I felt was very contemporary in the story, and that I still feel is very contemporary in the story, even though it takes place in 1916. It feels contemporary for today. So yeah.
Bradley, I also want to ask you about starring in the film. What really interested you in wanting to take part in acting in the movie as well, and how did you become attached to the film?
Uh, I was sent the script, Karen, and something happens which is a bit of a rarity in that you read a character and you immediately just sort of feel this connection to the role and what you want to do with it. And I I I'm trying to get to the bottom of this story myself because I'm not actually sure how the mechanics of this work, but I very quickly met with Josh. Um, what was the hotel, Josh?
It was I think it was the Beverly Wilshire, maybe.
The Beverly Wilshire. There we go. We'll always have the Beverly Wilshire,
Yeah,
Josh.
yeah, yes.
We had this meeting, and there was some of my team that didn't even know that this meeting had been set up. There was I don't know, 80% of my team didn't realize that we'd met by this point, and it was basically because I'd read this script and immediately went, "Yes, I'm doing it. Where's the director? Let me go meet him." And because yeah, it was one of those characters that it doesn't happen with every script you read. It just had that connective tissue to what the type of character that I look for when I'm looking to explore something through a character. And then I met with Josh, and uh, I was like, well, this guy's all right, so I suppose it'd be okay to work with him. He's present, and thus my Englishness is preventing me from showering him with compliments. But essentially, as soon as I met Josh, I was like, this is going to be a great guy to work with. So it was all very smooth sailing in terms of making a decision on it, getting going. It was all, and I appreciate I'm coming at that from the very much the actor's perspective, because when you're coming at it from the director, producer, writer perspective, the slog to just get it to that first day where someone says, right, action is incredible. It's something I've learned in the last, you know, 5, 6 years, basically, in a way that I didn't really I was aware of, but didn't appreciate beforehand. And so, yeah, by the time I got there, I got to sort of cruise on easy street because all the hard work had been done, and I just needed to work with this terrific script that had been put in front of me.
The hard work was just beginning, Bradley. Yeah.
Josh, speaking about the directing, I also wanted to ask you about that process as well, and going from working on the script into directing on set. What was your just overall approach in directing?
Well, yeah. So I think preparation was a big part of it. I storyboarded a fair bit of the movie, which does make life a bit easier. Because really, the thing with directing is you have a lot of this information in your head, but you need to figure out a way to really effectively communicate it with a lot of other people. And so storyboards can be very helpful with that. Also, yeah, I mean, we got in. You make the movie in prep, as they say. So that was significant. And then the main part as well was creating an environment in which all these other very creative people, most notably Bradley, uh, felt comfortable collaborating and engaging and all working together because it's got to be a very open process. I think if sometimes you hear about these movie sets where they just sound miserable, like they just where it's like the nobody, it's like some tyrannical, maybe back in the 50s, that's kind of what I'm talking about. And where there's just this tyrannical top down kind of domineering structure. And that certainly was not what we wanted here. And I think creating that environment is very helpful to the end product. And it shows in the final film, I think.
And speaking about the research, what was that process like for you both? And just really finding more information, and besides reading the script for you, Bradley, for you too, what was your research process like? And for you, Josh, as the writer and director, how did you really look into the history of the soldiers and World War One in general as well?
I'm actually going to take a step back into Josh's answer here, Karen, because what he's not done is he's done himself a disservice because any movie that is working with the drawings that Josh created for his storyboard,
Yeah.
you that will inspire any set. So don't let him play it down. Those drawings he did on that storyboard were fabulous.
It's true.
And if ever anyone needed to pick me up on set, they just needed to look at some of these drawings, and
Yeah. Yeah. No, they were good.
they were
Well, and
they were
so
sublime.
and then one thing I did do actually, which was I put some books in their trailers for our actors, right? And so Bradley did get some for going back to the research stuff. Bradley did get a book that I had annotated. I don't know how, but it was just kind of there as a mood setter, just for in between. You got some in between time. I don't know how much.
I had it with me. I basically the morning before we would go, whatever that hotel was called. I can't remember what that hotel was called, but
Swan.
basically the Swan.
Yeah.
Every morning in the Swan, just before as I was on my I was getting ready to get picked up and what have you, I would grab a page and read a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was yeah, that was quite a nice sort of thing just to focus you on the story you were
Yeah,
telling.
it helps set the mood a little bit. I mean, even when I'm writing anything else, I'll go and I'm always listening to historians talk about whatever period of time I'm talking, that kind of thing. And so I always think that's effective sometimes.
We immediately went on a bit of a group outing, Karen. We had a read through of the script um, with the cast, and I had just as soon as I was in LA, which was where I met Josh. I flew back not
The
that
next
long
day,
after, maybe,
no,
maybe the
that was
next
Friday.
day. Yeah,
Flew on Friday, and we met on Thursday.
right. And then I immediately then went to the Imperial War Museum, which I recommend to anyone who's sort of milling around London with, at a loss of what to do. Um, and we then had the read through, and I'd said to Josh, "Oh, I went to this Imperial War Museum the other day," and Josh's eyes lit up, and he was something like, "Oh my God, do you reckon we could get everybody to go?" And everybody was very much in the spirit of collaboration of sort of like telling a story together. And Josh suddenly announced, "Hey guys, do you fancy going to this?" And off we marched. Everyone was up for it. We all marched down to Oval, and
Yeah.
it was like being back on a school trip again.
Was
Karen. It was
it was like a school field trip with people who look like they could be on the cover of GQ magazine. It was like the most beautiful school trip you'll ever be on. Yeah, the outside of me. Yeah, the but yeah, no,
Josh is the handsome school teacher who's
yes, exactly. Yes, the rapscallion. But no, that was a wonderful memory, and it was a great way to start things off. And yeah,
we literally started off in the trenches. They have a
yeah,
trench, an example of a First
yeah,
World War trench at the Imperial War Museum, and we were walking through discussing the story. Like, we were still sort of buzzing from having read the script, so we were walking through discussing the story, discussing elements of the characters and what have you, whilst having sound effects of gunfire and what have you,
great. It
and
was
yeah,
a great way to start things off. Yeah,
yeah, it was a good day. It was a good
yeah.
day.
And speaking about working with the rest of the cast, I wanted to also ask you both about that a little more. And overall, besides like going to the museum together, how did you all work together and really building your characters and this story together as well?
The so Bradley might you because I know as far as the running of lines or things like that, I wasn't really there for. But for the rehearsals and getting together, I think one of the main, uh, I think one there was one day where we were doing rehearsals while we were doing our fittings in advance of getting the picture together, and that was, I think, a good moment where we were able to go through everything and kind of break the ice in a lot of ways. For instance, there's a part of the film where some characters are singing, and that we just we got all together and we started belting everything out, and that kind of helped break the ice a little bit. Maybe that. But no, I mean, I think that one of the nice things about British actors is that they just come together very nicely. I don't know. Bradley might have a little more on that than me. Yeah.
Well, you organised that day, Josh, if you remember, where you and I went and sat in. There was a lovely moment, Karen. I went to uh, drama school across the road from where Josh had organised a sort of rehearsal space, and it was, very much a nostalgic trip to the road where my old drama school was. And then we sat there pretty much all day, and one by one, each of the cast kind of came in, and we just sort of like worked on scenes together, and that was very helpful actually. I think for a couple of the guys who made some pretty sort of big switches in
Oh yeah.
decisions. Actually, now I think about it, if I think about a couple of those reads,
Yeah.
which they then didn't have to make on set on the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And then once we got on set, uh, we just had a very generous casting group. I saw something interesting. Somebody being interviewed the other day. I think it was Ben Kingsley. And I don't think this interview was the other day. I think it was from a while ago. But he was sort of pointing out that there are acting coaches who talk to actors and tell them to go and win the scene. And he was saying how useless that is to a project. It's the most useless thing you could do is to go and win the scene, because you are not serving the story. You're there for your own good, basically. You're there in very sort of a very selfish mindset. And we didn't have anybody on that in that cast who was there trying to win a scene. They were all like they're trying to give to each other, and that kind of bleeds down from the top again. I keep mentioning this word with Josh being collaboration, but when you've got actors who are sort of not coming from a place of fear that they won't do a good job. That usually comes from fear. Someone trying to win a scene is because they just don't trust their own abilities.
Yeah.
And none of these guys had that. I think it was instilled in them that they were the right person for the job, for the role. And then you bring that together, they were all just wanting to club together and get the best of this. And that I felt, and I've been fortunate. I've been on a few casts that's been the case, and this was certainly one of those. And then the nature of how we shot it meant that we were all kind of huddled together for most of the time anyway. Um, having uh, to just having time to figure out things when in between takes or what have you. So it was a we were very much ingrained in the process with each other. We were all staying in the same sort of spot. It was figuratively getting in the trenches together for
and
that
and
experience.
and I think potentially maybe part of the benefit of that because was the fact that I also wrote the script. So I had the ability, when you're sitting there with the actors, to go, well, this is really what the words say this, but this is really what's being said, and that sometimes could be helpful as well because you want to make sure that your actors have everything they need because they have to do an enormous amount of homework. They have to do an enormous amount of memorization and understanding and internalization of a lot of this, and it's well beyond me. I can write the stuff, but I can't memorize it and I can't deliver it, and I can't sell it and make it relatable. So the all the you're just there to try and make sure that they're able to prepare and show up and be the rock stars that they all can be. So it's that's and then it's kind of out of your hands at a certain point. Yeah.
I'd go back to your original question there, Karen, where it's sort of something that draws you in, and it was very much, I'm going to give him his props here, but when I was reading the script, it was very clear to me what was being said without being said.
Yeah.
I had a lot of appreciation for that, and that then creates a great challenge for you as an actor because you've
Yeah.
got to figure out how you are going to tell an audience without telling the audience.
Yeah,
So
and
that was
Bradley, I wasn't talking about you, because Bradley came in and he had all this stuff. Really, he was really
he was talking
dialed in.
about me, Karen.
No,
It's okay.
no,
It's
no, no,
fine.
no.
I was
They're
the
just
one guy who didn't
you
get
have
it,
a
you
whole
see.
cast. You have all these different actors. Not just talking about Bradley. Yeah, there are a lot of other. You got other actors and everything as well that
I
are
well,
doing.
I do mean it, Josh. I do think it's props to your writing. It was very. I love those bits that were in the script without being in the script. They were
Yeah,
very present. Sorry,
yeah.
Karen. You've now having to witness
Wait,
me just
yeah,
flood
yeah. Karen,
Josh
how are
with
you doing?
with
Yeah,
compliments.
yeah.
He's this is what we set this up
Yeah,
for.
I know. Well, this is
Yes.
why every
Anyway.
time every time Bradley and I hang out, it's like, all right, we'll get coffee for like 15 minutes, and then it's like 4 hours later, and we're like, yeah, 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 we're
And Josh, I also wanted to ask you about producing and working with the producers on the film and
yeah,
getting it made. What was your collaboration like with the
yeah.
production team as
So the studio that we worked with was a studio called Orwo Studios. So it's a co-production between Glasshouse Pictures, my production company, and Orwo Studios, with the Orwo Studios apparatus being the apparatus that we made the picture with, right? So the similar to a Warner Brothers or obviously in different, one's the U.S. and one is over in the U.K. And so that was with Jake Seal is the head of Orwo, and one of the things that was really great was they let us go and make our movie. You know, they we didn't have folks breathing down our necks or giving us any guff or any. They were so on board with it. Jake was so on board with it. Even to this day, Jake is very he's fantastic. I mean, he let us go and make our movie, and then maybe he had a note here and there, and we went, all right, great, that kind of thing. But it was we went down and we made the picture, and I think that's all the credit in the world. And then also it was great. I mean, over in the UK, everyone's so polite, everybody is so gentlemanly, so it's a really wonderful, and it takes a lot of it takes some guts for folks like Bradley and like Jake to say, hey, let's go and make a movie with this first time director. And it's so the and to have it work out. There are times when it doesn't work out where you're going and you're getting to open a festival, that kind of thing. And so the all the props in the world, because that's a big leap sometimes, and I can be very convincing in person, but that only goes so far. Eventually the other party needs to take a leap of faith, and so Jake did that, Oro did that, and Bradley did that. So the all the I'll be forever grateful till my dying day, for how this worked out. Yeah.
And what does it also mean to you both in being able to screen the movie at the Boston Film Festival coming up this weekend and share it with audiences here in the US and hear their opinions about the film?
Can you say that again?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
What does it mean to you both also to be able to share the movie this weekend at the Boston Film Festival and hear like reactions from audiences here in the US about the film?
Oh yeah, it's great. Well, so I grew up in Boston, and so it's really nice to be able to bring the picture back to a place where I fell in love with movies, and I made my first short films, and to get to do it with Bradley, who's a great creative partner, and to get to show him my hometown, some chowder, things like that. I'm going to take him to the Sox game, so that's very exciting. I think Boston is a good. I think I think I I feel that the picture will probably play well to a Boston audience. I think they'll recognize a lot of what's in it, because it came from someone who's so Boston bred. But I'm not going to monopolize all the time. Bradley, how excited are you for Boston Festival,
I'm
Bradley?
very excited. I haven't been to Boston before, so I'm very excited about that. I purposely have not watched the latest edit of the movie, so it's going to be the first time that I see the latest cut. And I mean, my exposure to Boston up to this point, aside from sports, is Bill Burr predominantly talking about Boston, which and Conan's from Boston, isn't he?
Yes, yeah.
So
I
Bill
think they're the two ambassadors of Boston, I
of
believe. Yeah,
Boston,
the
yeah,
global ambassadors.
those
Yeah,
two talking about Boston.
them and Whitey Bulger. Yeah, no, yeah, sorry.
I've not heard of Whitey Bulger before, but
No,
it sounds like Bill Burr and Conan O'Brien wouldn't want to be put in the same group
no, no, no.
as the aforementioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my knowledge of comes from Bill Burr's hilarious but angry rants often about his experiences growing up in Boston. I can't wait. I'm sure it's just as he described.
Yeah. If we stay out past a certain hour, you will witness all of what Bill Burr has to talk about. Yeah, yeah. But I love Boston. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was mainly it, but thank you both again for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Aaron,
Thank you,
thank
Karen. Thank
you.
you for having us.
You're
You're
welcome.
the best.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah.
It was wonderful. Really,
Yeah.
thank you. Have a wonderful day. Hopefully, are you going to be? I guess you've already seen the film, so but
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see you on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was able to get the screener link to watch for the interview today. So yeah, I enjoyed it. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
the Boston Film Festival is always one I've enjoyed. I've been covering it for like a decade now. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So yeah.
well. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks again.
All
All right.
right.
All right. Good
Cheers,
festival.
Karen. Thank you very much.
All
Thank
right.
you too.
Bye.
Bye.